we knew obviously there's going to be some rain down there and that, but obviously we were disappointed because we were ready to play. So a bit of a shock when we found out the game was off.
I mean, it turned out to be the only game that was called off for weather reasons in the whole country as well. Did that make it a little bit more strange? Because I know personally I was expecting more to be called off after seeing the weather warnings.
Yeah, we were the same. We looked at it after and looked at how many games were cancelled. There wasn't many. I don't think any games were cancelled in London. So we were just disappointed because we were ready to play. So, but it was what it was. So we just had to get on with it.
And so looking ahead to Tuesday then against Hartlepool, with Saturday's match being postponed, does that help or hinder you, do you feel?
Well, I'd have rather played, obviously. But, we've had to prepare now for this game on tomorrow. I think only time will tell. I said I'd rather have the game under our belts and played for real so we can assess where we are. But, we've trained well today. We're ready for the game tomorrow. The players are just ready to play a game, and I think that's where we are. So I'll let you know after at the end of the game whether it'll hinder us or it's been an advantage.
And so, in terms of team news, you were going to make some final checks on Friday before Wealdstone. Are those players now fit and ready for tomorrow, or will you still have to check again, perhaps later and tomorrow?
Well, we'll just have to see how they are. The players aren't a million miles away. What I've got to balance up is do we really need them this moment in time and give them the extra recovery, or do we put them in there and with some slight doubts whether they'll be able to play the 90 minutes? So it's weighing it up. I think I have to look long term with this one and see. I'd like the players to be fit and have no problems, but I'm sure if I called upon them, they play. But I don't want them to play and just get through it, because I think we've got a lot of games coming up. We're going to need everybody. So the sensible thing is, again, we're just assessing it every day. And I speak to the medical department, and we're assessing everything every day. And if there's a chance that we need to take, then we'll do it. If we don't have to do that, then I just don't think there's any point at the moment.
And could these extra few days potentially help Nathan Tyson, get back in the squad? Obviously, he's not featured in pre-season, and I think it was sort of touch and go whether you were going to include him on Saturday. Has that helped his cause to give him those extra few days?
Yeah, I mean, Tyson's obviously one of them. And he's one of those where he could be involved, but I just want him right, and I don't want him, 70 or 80% when it might be for the sake of one game. Or we don't start and we put him on the bench, that he's going to be okay for the next one. I just want the little niggles that we've had. We've not played football matches for 6 months, and the little niggles that we've had. I mean, Curtis Weston was another one. He had a similar niggle to what Tice had, and it's we just want them to clear up. I don't want it to become a problem. So that's why we're having to be sensible, and obviously speak to the medical side every day, is what I've said, and we just assess them on the merits of where they are. So and obviously Tice is one of those.
And since we've last spoken, has anything developed transfer-wise? I know on Thursday you said you were perhaps close. Has anything developed in the last few days on that front?
No, we're not at the moment. But there's something simmering, but we just want to make sure it's going to be right for us. All the time I'm looking at, what we need and long term the balance of the team. So we might be missing, a couple of players at the moment, but long term over the balance, I don't want to just try and fill those gaps because they're missing. Because when we get them back in a week or whatever, then I need the balance of the squad right. So that's really where we are at the moment.
So from just what you're saying now, it doesn't seem likely that anything will happen before tomorrow's match. Is that right?
No, I'm not going to rule it out. No, I'm not going to rule it out.
And in terms of wanting to ask you about Dylan Wharton, I've seen the squad numbers came out last week, and he's not included. Is he still around at the club? Yeah,
Dylan will have a squad number. Dylan's signed with us now, so we've taken Dylan. I think he's done really well, to be fair, in the pre-season and the games he's had. He's a young lad who's learning his trade. But, when we get Coddy back, then we'll have, 3 goalkeepers, which is what I feel we need, and a young one who's got potential. But at the moment, he's going to be that number 2 role for us, which he's happy to do. And I think it's really good for his development. So he's got a lot of good attributes, Dylan. He's a good size. He's very agile goalkeeper. He just needs that little bit of confidence, and he's been training around the first team since we've been back in. So great for him. I'm glad we've got him now, which can sit a little bit easier at the moment. What I think about the goalkeepers. I like another senior one, because playing Dylan, putting Dylan in for one game or putting him in for a period of time is okay. But if I'm asking him to go in and play 5 or 6 games on the bounce, that's slightly different. So we've got to get that balance right. But yeah, delighted to have him. And
is that on a 1-year deal like most of the other players have signed, or is it short term?
Yeah, we took him. So he was with us for the season. He's exactly the same as everybody else.
And so, looking ahead to Hartlepool, then, what are you expecting from them?
A tough game, but they all are. And they're no different. They had a good win at weekend. They've got good players. They've got a lot of pace in the team. They play some good football. We've done our work on them. We know what the strengths are. We hopefully know what the weaknesses are. A tough game, like all of them at the moment.
Are you expecting Hartlepool to be one of the teams probably there or thereabouts in and around the playoffs this season, do you feel? I
think so. I think they'll definitely be in and around it. I'm hoping we'll be one of them as well. But, I think you see some of the results that are getting thrown up at the moment, and it's all the way down. You look at, the budget that Stockport's spent through the summer, and they get beat a weekend. So I think it's just going to be one of those. We just want to be in and around the mix of it, hopefully, and hopefully we will be.
And obviously it's the first home game tomorrow. How important do you feel your home form is going to be this season in trying to make the Technique Stadium a bit of a fortress?
Well, we haven't got anybody in it, so and I think that's a lot of the teams are struggling with that. I think that's where people are having the problem. You look at these stadiums that you go to where they're very difficult to play when you've got home supporters there. I think Man U are finding that out. I'm sure I think Sheffield United are finding the same. It's one of those. We want to be good at home. We were good at home last year. Our form showed that. And we did pick up away from home. So, yeah, like everything, it's important to win your own games. We want to be competitive this season in this league. And the home form goes without saying. If you can get that right, you've got a massive platform in which to build when you're going away.
And do you think having no fans in the stadium will help or hinder? Because we're hearing about maybe potential certain players and certain teams are actually perhaps playing with a little bit more freedom and being a bit more relaxed. Could that potentially help you, or what are your thoughts on that?
I honestly don't know. Until we get going, I don't know. I would rather have the supporters, because I think then there's a good atmosphere, and when we've got a good atmosphere here, we are a different team, when our supporters get behind us. So yeah, you could say some people play with less fear, but that can be said about both teams then, can't it? Some teams might not be looking forward to playing here when we've got a decent crowd here, but it can work for us, against us. I just think we have to kick a ball and see what happens.
And with there being no fans there, is it up to the players to try and find that motivation and that sort of fire in the belly to sort of get themselves up for the game, whereas sometimes the fans can help in that aspect of it?
Yeah, but it can also be very difficult. So I think it's, the players, if you can't motivate yourself for a game, then, you want to be looking at what you're involved in. You shouldn't have to motivate players to play football, especially when we're playing at home. But you know, it's it can work. It can work both ways. You know, we want the players to be confident. You know, there's no reason why they can't be. You know, we're not as if we've been on the back of a bad run. You know, we've had 2 poor results in pre-season, but you know, we haven't kicked a ball in anger yet. But going off, you know, when we played properly, you know, we had a decent record. We were okay. So there's no reason why we can't be positive about going into this season.
Thanks for your time, John, and good luck tomorrow night.
Yeah, Liam. Thanks, pal.
Well, John, Liam's managed to ask nearly everything there is to ask, but it must have been very frustrating as well as disappointing to have the match last Saturday called off at such a late point, wasn't it? How do you motivate the team to pick up from that for tomorrow's match?
Well, they just motivate themselves, really. We were really disappointed that the game was off. You know, we were looking forward to playing. The players were ready. You know, so, you know, we were ready to kick a ball in anger. Disappointed that it was off. But they've been in, obviously been in today. The players did, so we went back, the players did work on Saturday, so we didn't waste the day. We did work, then we managed, you know, get out and watch a few games, you know, which was nice to get out and watch a game. And then they've been in today and train well this morning. So yeah, well, you know, they're ready to play, and you know, whatever we get is what we get. But you know, they are ready to play football now.
The enforced gap that you've had, has it made any differences in your mind to the team that you may put out, or besides the fact that you may change it for an opponent anyway, has it given you perhaps a few better options?
Well, I you know, we sit down with the staff before every game, so we look at, you know, before we play any game, we've done our homework on every team. You know, I've said before, we've watched, you know, 4 or 5 games of them, so we know exactly what they are, and then we look at the team and its merits of where it's been. We look at where they are regards of anybody carrying any injuries. We look at what we're going to need. You know, I always look at how well we can play first, and then how poor that we can make the opposition play. So I think that's important. So I always look at what our strength is and where we can cause people problems, and then look at what their strengths are and look at what we need to do. So I judge that on its merits. So, you know, I've said to the players, one player might play or be on the bench, and then the next game, if it's something I need a specific job, then, you know, we'll change it accordingly. And everybody's bought into that. So, you know, it's just taking the game, each game on its merits, and then we sit down and we assess everything. So we assess when we've trained, we assess everybody how they've trained. So we finish, we come back in and we sit down and we go through everything after every session. And it's just seeing where they are and seeing who's in form and who's not.
For what you said earlier, you've got a pretty full pool of players to choose from, though, haven't you? They're nearly all full. Yeah.
You know, like I said, we've just got a couple of little niggles that we've got, but on a whole, we're okay. We're okay, ready to go.
And we're likely to possibly have some new signings in the not too distant future.
New signings?
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish.
We hope.
Well, yeah. You know, like, you know, we have, you know, we're not far away. We're just in the process of monitoring something at the moment. We want to make it right for us. You know, I was saying the balance of the squad is more important long term than filling a gap at this moment in time. So that's kind of where we are.
It's not just the balance, though, is it? It's also the atmosphere and how they gel as a group, isn't it?
Yeah, the dynamics of the team is big. You know, I think about that. You know what I'm like with that. It's important to have a good dressing room. It's important to have good people, and it's important to be able to, when things aren't going well, is them to be able to regroup quickly, and you know, and then move on, put disappointment to one side, and when it's going the other way, to be able to get, you know, put the foot on that momentum, and like we did last year, where we just keep, you know, we could string a run together, and yeah, the dynamics of the group is huge.
Tough match tomorrow. Hartlepool finished just outside the playoffs last season. May even have made the playoffs if it had finished. They've made some really good signings by the looks of it, and they've got a fairly established team. So they look like very tough first match, don't they?
Yes, it's going to be a difficult. But I think all the games when people play us is difficult because I think we're a scout for people. So yeah, we've done our own work on Hartlepool. They're a good side. They had a good win at weekend, so they've got some momentum. It's nice to get a game under your belt, which what we haven't. That was a disappointing thing about the game not being on Saturday, and they're coming off the back of a good win. So yeah, they've got good players. We know what the strengths are. We hopefully know what the weaknesses are, and I'm hoping that we'll be chomping to get going and we'll have a promising performance.